Hey, welcome back to the Vols for Life podcast, guys. Uh, Bob, today let's jump into this college football playoff. It's changing already, and it's going to change again in 2 years.
hmm
So let's get into your thoughts on that, Bob.
Okay. It was, going into the season, it was going to be six conference champions with an automatic bid and six at large. They've changed that due to the Pac 10 or Pac 2, whatever you want to call
Pack your
it.
bags.
Uh, but now it's five automatic qualifiers and seven at large. And the five automatic qualifiers are five highest ranked conference champions. That does not necessarily mean that is SEC, Big 12, whoever.
Big Ten, ACC,
Right.
right?
It can be, you know, some small conference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
And Notre Dame gets in if they're in the top 12 because they're not in a conference.
Right. They just can't get a first round bye.
But the big news, probably even bigger than that. That was expected. The bigger news is the fact that they're already looking at in a couple years going to possibly 14
Maybe 16.
or 16 teams, which I don't like.
No. And then, hey, guys, give us your comments on what you think the best number for the new playoffs would be. Should they stay at 4, go up, bump it up just a little bit, maybe to 6 or 8, 12, 14, 16, 22, whatever number y'all like. Give us your thoughts behind us. And Bob, let's jump into that.
Okay. I'm going to give my opinion. Uh, my opinion, I would have done an initial one here as 8 teams. I can live with the 12, but to me, 8 was the right number because, I mean, look at one year after another. Usually, when we're talking the top four teams, there's usually about 6, 7 teams, maybe 8, that has a legitimate gripe to be in the national championship tournament. And that's the thing. It's a national championship tournament playoff. It's not, any team that's in it should have a gripe to say, hey, at the end of the regular season, we're the best team in the country. I mean, we're not. You know, I just don't like the fact that you've got gonna be throwing teams in there that's played a weak conference that's got 3 losses. You know, I mean,
Well, I can't really see the teams out of the weak conferences getting in with 3 losses. You would see it out of the Big Ten or ACC, though.
right,
And, to me, I'm a little opposite of you. I'm a little bit better with a slightly larger field, simply due to the fact that college football is unlike any other sport. Uh, and it's not as much about where everybody says, oh, the regular season's so important. Yeah, it's so important because there's so few games, but the competition level between when it comes to schedules are massive.
mm-hmm,
And
sure,
man, I've seen a 3 loss ACT team better than a 1 loss. Well, I'll be honest about it. I think I've seen some 3 loss ACC teams better than some undefeated teams
right,
in the other conferences. Um,
yeah,
it's
I
massive
get that.
difference in strength of schedule.
I get that. And going to the 5-7 instead of the 6-6, there's a better chance of an SEC team getting in that's played a hard schedule, and I do like that. That was needed because we thought really that the SEC might just get 3 teams in the other format. This one we got a little bit better chance because that extra game is probably going to be an SEC team or a Big Ten team.
Well, when they do go to the 14 and 16, and I expect them to, um, Petiti, the Big Ten commissioner, is pushing for 4 automatic qualifiers out of the Big Ten. So if he gets that, we'll get 4 also out of the
Right.
SEC. Um, which we discussed in a video last year, Bob. Those people that thought 5 or 6 teams out of the conference was going to the playoff was going to be really disappointed. It was not going to happen,
Yeah.
and he obviously watched our video and agreed with us 100%. That's why he wanted to get some automatic qualifiers in there, and he wants to bump up the size of the
Easy.
tournament. I
Yeah.
mean, that's all it is. Because really, I mean, it's not just 16. You're really fighting for 15 spots because that fifth conference champion most years going to be outside the top 20.
Right, that's true. Uh, but I don't like the conference tie-ins, man. I don't like that. Just give me the top 12 teams. I don't care if 5 of them's from, the Big 10, Big 12, but just make it. I want the best teams in the tournament. I don't want a bunch of bums, and I don't want, just make it the
I
top.
understand. I mean, Charlie Baker's wanting to expand the March Madness
Right.
and up to almost 100 teams.
Yeah.
So
Money.
that first weekend's going to be trash.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be March Sadness in the first weekend.
Yeah.
It's going to be like 50 games of 1 versus 16. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
If he does, if they get that pushed through. So, and the same thing is, you do want super excitement in a college football
Right.
playoff format also.
Well, you look at last year. Just if that had been this coming season, Arizona was number 14, Louisville number 15. Neither one of them teams had a gripe for a national championship. Louisville lost to Pittsburgh, lost to Kentucky, lost to Florida
Kentucky
State.
good, ain't they? I thought.
Yeah,
That's what I heard anyway.
I mean, that's preseason. Yeah. After preseason, reality starts kicking in. But
You leave them preseason championships alone. As a Tennessee fan for the last 15 years, it's the
we're,
only thing I had to deal with.
we're in reality now, Tim.
Yeah.
We're in reality. And they also got stomped by USC in the bowl game.
Yeah, and FSU beat them without the quarterback.
Yeah.
So,
And USC beat them without their
quarterback too.
Yeah.
So
that team was not a team that should have been in a college playoff. But if it had been a year earlier, they'd been in there.
they could have been in the mix for it. Same thing with Arizona. There's
Right.
nothing really to hang their hat on. I mean, yeah, they had some top 25 wins, but
They got beat by
borderline
Mississippi
top
State.
25s. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be Mississippi State, Washington, which turns out to be a good loss, obviously.
Right, that was.
USC.
Yeah.
I'm hearing one day they're going to play defense there, but
Right.
that's not this year.
Yeah, I don't like that, Tim, but let's see what happens, I guess.
Well, it's going to be interesting this first season, going to 12, see how exactly it does look. Will it add more excitement at the end of the season because there's more teams trying to get in? I mean, yeah, maybe Michigan, Ohio State will have a little less luster because we know they're both getting in.
Right.
But is it worth it when you look at there's half a dozen or a dozen teams in the country trying to slide in to build their resumes, which won't be a dozen teams, but there'll be a lot more games toward the end of the season that matter, I guess.
Right. And like I said, I'm for 8, but if you'll give me a 12, I can deal with 12. I can deal with that. I just don't want to go any further.
Yeah.
And
well, I would have been for a 6 or 8 if you didn't have automatic conference
right.
tie-ins.
Yeah, that's what I would have wanted.
But once you start going, you've got to have 4 or 5 conference champions. Then, I'm done with it at that point.
Right.
At those numbers.
Yeah. Because it's okay. They try to say, well, it's got to be conference champion. It's got to mean something. Well, it means something if you win the SEC. You know what I mean?
Well, it does, but this isn't a conference champion playoff.
Right.
It's a national champion playoff, and the 3 best teams might be from the same conference.
It's been that way sometimes.
I know the top 2 teams of several years in the last decade has been from the SEC.
Right.
And quite honestly, if the 3rd team in the SEC had been playing a ACC schedule, it's very likely that people would have thought those 3 teams right there were the best teams in the conference in the country. I mean,
well, you know what? That goes back to something else. There's some online discussion, about the SEC going to 9 games, Tim. Conference games. I don't like that. It's what people don't understand is that's extra losses. If you add for every conference game added, somebody's taking a loss.
Yeah.
Some people think, oh, there's going to be 8 teams in a conference with 10 wins. No, the math suggests otherwise. And
yeah. Not unless there's 8 teams in the conference with 10 losses.
right. I mean, but I don't like that. And, one person said, well, you got the wrong mentality. It's an NFL type schedule thing now where it's okay to have a few losses here and there. But two things I have a problem with that. One, I don't like to lose. I've never have,
Right.
no matter what it is. I hate losses, number one. And, number two, if you got one team playing an NFL type schedule, competing against the team playing a college/high school schedule, it's not apples and apples here
Yeah.
when you're trying to find out who's going to make the playoff.
Well, it
Yeah.
is, and that's the thing with the college football. Mentioned it earlier. It's just simply schedules are not created equal.
No,
They're not. And they never have been. Never will be. Not even in the same ballpark. I mean, yes, there's a little difference in NFL. Some teams can have it, but the difference is minuscule.
very small. Yeah.
And when it comes to colleges, it's always been massive. Um, and I don't even see with the bigger conferences, it's still going to remain fairly massive. Um, it's so you. I've heard it also said, Bob, real quickly, and I won't belabor the point, but that you are what your record says you are, and I think that's idiotic. You are what your schedule plus your record says you are,
Yeah.
because we're not the same when it comes to schedules.
Now, some teams play a lot harder schedule. Florida next year plays a very tough schedule, and you can't compare their schedule next year to probably a TCU or something like that. Or
Well, let's look at okay. Just go to the big schools: FSU, Clemson, uh, Oklahoma State. I mean, these people going to be potentially conference champions. Arizona, um, they're not the same. And now next year the Big Ten's going to play a tougher schedule. But look at Ohio State and Michigan. They've been playing basically one game schedules for years.
yeah, I mean it's true. They have been. That's
I
about to
mean,
change now, though.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, Bobby, got anything else to add on that?
I think that's it, Tim.
Guys, we appreciate you spending a little time with us today. Uh, Remember to get that likes button if you don't care. Hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate that. And leave us your comments about where you think the college playoff number would be best at.
Yeah, yeah. Let us know. We'd
Yeah.
like to hear it.
All right. Go Big Orange.
Come on.